Uncertain to have the favor of God in defeating their opponents in their church fight in Kumba in the Meme of the Southwest region, suspected Presbyterian Church Christians planted charms at the entrance to the house of God in Kumba. It disrupted church service. However, timid was the nature of the service that finally held in the disturbing church scene in Kumba. Remember, it is coming after the use of vuvuzelas to chase the pastor and assistant of that church. We shall be looking at that in this edition of the news. Meantime, some delegation of officials sent from the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé, to assess the impact of the natural catastrophe over the weekend on Chico subdivision in the Fako of the Southwest region has been giving strong statements and warnings. The warning came from the mayor of the Chico Council. Why is the mayor of the Chico Council sending strong words to the Yaoundé delegation is what you shall be discovering in this edition of the news. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to understand how the heavy downpour interrupted economic activities in the city of Douala and also hindering displacements of people. It is what we're going to be explaining in the course of this edition of the news. Thanks for making the right choice to get information on your #1 television channel. It is Equinoxe live from Douala, Cameroon. For investigative reports, a full newscast on what is happening across Cameroon, it is only on Equinoxe television. You're on to the primetime newscast. We call it the 6 p.m. news on Equinoxe. After failure to disrupt church service with the use of whistles, vuvuzelas, padlocks being strategies to send away the pastor of the Presbyterian Church Kumba town in the Meme of the Southwest region of Cameroon, disgruntled Christians on Sunday, that was yesterday, planted charms at the gate into the house of God in Kumba. Shocking were the images released on social media across Cameroon. The acts rendered difficult for the people who intended to worship yesterday. However, Innocent as it says that service began at the Presbyterian Church Kumba late and extremely timid. His report on the fight in the house of God in Kumba.
This is what scared most Christians from attending a church service at PC Kumba Town early Sunday. Charms planted at the gates of the house of God by a faction of Christians who for over 3 weeks now have been clamoring for the departure of 2 pastors, Mary Wose and Vetin Tambi. They accused of embezzling church funds and wanting to abort their elected straightforward and anti-corrupt chair lady, Comfort Mukete, accused by the pastors of mismanagement of church money. While some of the worshippers made a U-turn, others waited until the arrival of the Bafo Traditional Council head, consulted by the church pastors. They only got into the house of God after rituals were performed and the charms discarded. The church service thus went on smoothly as from 9 a.m. with timid attendance. The use of black magic is coming after the disgruntled faction of Christians failed to use riots, whistles, vuvuzelas, padlocks, and others to prevent the pastors from preaching and for them to leave PC Kumba Town.
Yeah, it is the rainy season. That is no news, but probably news is the fact that several neighborhoods of Bonaberry in the Douala 4 subdivision are experiencing floods and inundations. The locals are obliged to go through running waters in order to get themselves displaced from the neighborhood to several parts of the city of Douala. Details in the report compiled by Anna Bila.
Flood is a recurrent phenomenon in most neighborhoods of the city of Douala. Whenever it rains heavily, denizens are obliged to pass through dirty running or stagnant water to go about their daily activities. Houses are flooded and dangerous when kids are around. Businesses are adversely affected as well. Traders have no choice but step into the stagnant water to sell their goods. At Granga, André Matango, Cartier GPS, Ngwele and Carrefour Abattoir, The entire place is inundated, a very disturbing situation to those who live in these areas. They blame the floods on poor drainage systems in the Douala 4 municipality.
Our water, they say don't pass wheel.
I've been here for 40 years in this quarter, this very quarter, and this quarter is called Ngwele. Every year, every blessed year, this quarter is not safe. Every blessed year, and frankly, every blessed year, see, all over, all around, you see water, there's all water around. Automatically, we are suffering this quarter. Yes, we are suffering.
Granga, the situation this night is very difficult, dangerous.
We are here at Granga. Sincerely speaking, the nature of this environment is really despicable. I want to believe that the government is aware that the drainage system of Douala in particular is in high need of intervention.
We are at Carrefour Abattoir at Ndobo, and here you can see I'm having my father's slippers that I came right from inside so that he can like put on his shoes before going to work. And it's all because there's no town planification. You see, people build houses, they don't leave roads for gutters to pass, they build anywhere they want to build. So at least they should know what to do about it. The government should see into it. We are suffering here.
The locals find it more challenging as they have nowhere to go.
Many people here in this quarter, they have their houses here. They are not even tenants. Oh, yes. Many have their houses here. So they cannot abandon their house and go different side. So the only thing we help the government, we are trying to plead the government to help us friendly, to really help us, because now we are feeling bad. We don't look at, if it is time of school period, you will see that children will not even be able to walk here.
The Douala 4 Council had earlier demolished houses to give way for runoffs in Bonaberi and avoid floods, but much work is still to be carried out to definitely keep the area from being inundated whenever it rains.
And in a related story, the mayor of the Chico subdivision has sent a strong warning to a delegation who came into Yaoundé to inspect the damage caused by a recent natural catastrophe that was over the weekend. Heavy downpour that resulted to heavy runoffs and inundations, killing some persons, at least 2, within Chico subdivision, the towns of Chico and Mutengene. The mayor was speaking to the delegation dispatched, as our reporter Derek Jado tells us in the following report.
24 hours after the natural catastrophe which hit Chico subdivision without warning, snatching away lives and properties, a team from the Cameroon Ministry of Public Works is sent on the field. Mbole Benoit, the Director General for Infrastructural Works, is heading the team, sent by the Public Works Minister.
Our mission was to identify all the problems that occurred these 2 days, and then identify the solution to solve those problems.
And this is what the inspection team told Chief Mesoso Peter, the mayor of Chico Council.
Things are taking already a very quick step, because as per the director of public works, he made us understand that dispositions are taking place as from tomorrow. As they are leaving the field today, from tomorrow, work starts.
And in response, this is what the Chico mayor told them.
I want to say that many a times we used to have problems because we do visit on ground, we do proper visibility study and everything, but the implementation, the moment we fail to implement what we did in the field, is a problem.
And to start from the beginning, local authorities should be part of the process. The mayor of Chico Council gave his reasons.
Feel with them that even if something has to be done in the municipality, even if contracts have to be given to contractors, if not the council to do, it's not our problem. We are interested that our municipality should be good, but the mayors should be included in the follow-up committee.
The landlord of the Chico municipality pleaded that he don't want his people to see again what they saw last Saturday, July 9, 2022. Mvo Armstrong, the divisional officer for Chico subdivision who lived the situation, took the minister's envoy round his subdivision to show them the disaster. starting from Miselele to the bridge at Tiko Roundabout, Likumba Hill, and then these residents at Quarter 1 Mutengeni, where 11-year-old boy was killed by the flood. The team later went back to the Tiko Council for a brief session. It has already been made public that works is expected to start here in under 24 hours.
And it's 48 hours already after the unfortunate incident. We are close on that, and so shall be coming back to it. But as the rains intensify in Douala, in Tiko and the rest of Cameroon, inhabitants are also strategizing in order to be able to survive and go through the difficult season. They are now going in for plastic shoes, plastic bags and other gadgets to keep safe from the disturbances and challenges of the rainy season. These articles are sold in most markets visited in the city of Douala by Lucy Lyonge-Esse as she compiled her report.
It is the rainy season. In the Bopi markets of Douala, we can find varieties of gadgets used to either protect or fight against cold. Gadgets like umbrellas, raincoats, rainboats can be seen in the market. An umbrella which is widely used. Sellers complain of an increase in price.
La vente des parapluies, c'est une activité saisonnière.
The sales of umbrellas is seasonal, and to us, we don't yet experience heavy downpour. So our sales are not encouraging. Yes, people come to buy, but when there are no rains, they don't come to buy.
En train d'évacuer le stock qu'ils ont pris depuis.
The season, which starts from January to December, wholesalers complain of a change in the market this year as compared to last year.
As this one, these are the umbrellas 3 years ago. These are the umbrellas they were selling for 800, 750. Right now the price has changed. Now like this it is 950. Customers are even complaining about the price. They were the one increasing the price, whereas it's not the case. Prices for customers. We need rain to sell. Without rain we cannot really sell.
While at the Marché Central, due to the heavy downpour, sellers and buyers are left with no option than to wear different plastic shoes.
No, en saison de pluie.
During the rainy season, we have variety of shoes. This year, there are new shoes, both male and female. Yes, we have customers who come to buy.
Et pour cette année, on a cette nouveauté.
While customers say they are very satisfied.
Mais c'est vraiment nécessaire.
It protects our feet and it's long-lasting. That's the more reason why we love buying them. Mostly the ones that are like boat. Bike riders who have umbrellas on their bikes say they are very happy during this season because they are able to make extra gain. It is certain that the usage of these gadgets during this season remains necessary as a result of floods experienced in most localities.
Even with the increase of rain-related natural catastrophes or catastrophic incidents, experts say the food crisis is unavoidable if Cameroon and Cameroonians continue to prefer the importation of food rather than enhancing the local production of food items at a time when the war in Russia and Ukraine is having an impact on food security in Cameroon and the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. The rising food practices are indications that a food crisis looms, experts insist, in a bid to improve local production and the transformation of locally made food. Researchers in the northwest region of Cameroon are sensitizing local producers on the need to improve local production. Details in a following report compiled by our northwest regional chieftain correspondent, Mbustela.
Heavily armed security officers guarding the apostolic nuncio Julio Morat as he makes his way into some parishes that makes up the Kongsamba diocese on the occasion of the 10th priestly ordination of His Lordship Judenes Poatangana, Bishop of Kongsamba. Security threats from neighboring English-speaking southwest region is a raison d'etre behind the tight security. The city of Kongsamba in recent time has recorded a high influx of displaced persons from the northwest and southwest regions, with many of them living in deplorable conditions.
Really, it's not really easy for us who have come from different sides. Because, I mean, even to pay our house rent, we are not able to pay the house because of lack of money. We don't even have work to do. So we're even struggling to sell in the market. Things have become so expensive that we are not even able to buy and sell. And even if you have small money to buy, even the food stuff, they are too expensive. Our house rent we are unable to pay. Even to sponsor our children in school is not easy for us.
The displaced equally expressed their wish, which is to see the war come to an end so they can go back to their homes.
Life here is not like our own life where we're in our own houses. In our side, we had our farms, we had houses, we're not paying house rent. Yes, we really pray that the situation should change, because if we continue to stay here, many things will go wrong. The government should try to solve this problem in Cameroon so that at the end, everybody will go back to their house and life will flourish again.
The Apostolic Nuncio acknowledged that there is a crisis. He encouraged those living in Kongsamba to continue supporting victims of the war who are currently in need.
The people from Anglophone regions, they are very well integrated to the community, to the parishes. I thank the parish priests, I thank the bishops, but also our lay faithful that they open their hearts, their homes to receive our brothers and sisters. We don't have to limitate with our neighbors. The neighbors is the people who are in the necessity.
In the course of his tour in different parishes in Kongsamba, the Apostolic Nuncio preached on the principles of love, peace, and unity.
We saw various radar reports on the displaced persons from the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon, expressing the undying wish to go back home and calling for an immediate end to the armed conflict in the two English-speaking regions. Remember, it's been on for over 5 years, going to 6 years now, as the conflict continues to rock the English-speaking regions. They were speaking in Kongsamba, the city of Kongsamba, in the Mungo of the littoral region of Cameroon, as you got there, compiled by Immaculate Fogwe. Now, time for us to talk something else: women empowerment, to say that the financial dependency of young mothers are often neglected, and in a way to empower them, an association of young mothers in Cameroon's Senegal Maritime Division of the Littoral Region organized a training program in order to up the skills of these women. Malak Glory is the lady on the story.
Financial independence and the respect of a complete vaccination program for children are major factors which are often neglected by young mothers. In a way to empower them, be self-employed, and to know the importance of these vaccines, an association of women in partnership with a non-governmental organization conducted a training program for young mothers in the Senegal Maritime Division of the Littoral Region. This training would permit them create a source of revenue which will enable them take care of their families, and we wish to make it a long-term program. With anxiety and openness, the young mothers acquired skills in different domains. For at least a week, they benefited from the expertise of this group of women. I came here so I will be able to provide the needs of my family. I have 2 children and it's not easy. This training program has really helped me. We were taught on the importance of vaccinations. We learned how to produce menthol, liquid and solid soup. Diplomats were offered to these trainees in order to encourage them put to use the knowledge acquired.
Let's talk sports, football, to say that the 8 teams which have so far qualified for the final of 4 in the upcoming Africa Women's Nation Cup, the ongoing Africa Women's Nation Cup in the northern African country of Morocco, are on a rest today after the last group match is played on Sunday. Host Morocco, Senegal, Zambia, Cameroon, Tunisia, South Africa, Nigeria and Burkina Faso are now vying to seal its spot in the semi-finals of the ongoing competition. Smart Jikin Gabriel makes a balance sheet of the competition in the following report.
A total of 18 matches were played during the group stage of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. During the group stages of the tournament, only Morocco and South Africa recorded a 100% score as they crossed to the final 8 without losing a point. In the 18 matches played this far, 48 goals were scored. giving us an average of 2.67 goals scored per match, with Ghislaine Chebak of Morocco topping the goal chart with 3 goals to her account. At the group stages, all of the teams conceded at least a goal, but Burundi had the worst defense, as in 3 matches played, Burundi conceded 11 goals, followed by Togo 9 goals, while Uganda conceded 7. The referees were also at work to discipline players. In the 18 matches played during the group stages, a total of 59 yellow cards were given out, with Group B of Cameroon having the most yellow cards, 24, followed by Group A with 19, and Group B with 16 yellow cards respectively. Togo had the most number of yellow cards, 10, closely followed by Cameroon and Senegal with 7 yellow cards respectively. South Africa was the only team to have left the group stages having only 1 yellow card. At the level of red cards, a total of 4 were shown by the women in black, with all groups having at least a team sanctioned, but Group A dominated with 2 red cards. Uganda and Burkina Faso had 1 red card each. Cameroon is sure to miss 2 of its players, Monique Ngok and Grace Ngok, due to accumulated yellow cards during the group stages of the competition. All 4 teams that will qualify for the semi-finals at this year's Women's Africa Cup of Nations gain automatic qualification to the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, with 2 of the losing quarter-finalists having to go through a difficult route via the intercontinental playoffs to get their qualification tickets to Australia and New Zealand 2023.
And on Talking Points, we shall be questioning the qualitative and quantitative successes of the fight for gender equality across the African continent at the time when the African Union is committed to supporting initiatives geared towards empowering the African woman. Is it also controversial or rather conflicting with the very essential concept of merit? Is a question we'll be asking our guests tonight, who will be talking specifically on issues linked to the African Women's Month, running from the 1st to the 31st of the month of July 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up is Talking Point. Hi ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks for joining us on Talking Point, the second segment of news. Tonight, we're having as a guest Madame Sylvie Jacqueline Docmore. She is a member of the steering committee of the Africa Women's Fund and Africa Regional Representative on the International Council of the WILPF, which is the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. With her, we shall be analyzing the challenges on gender equality and empowerment on the African continent within the context of the launch of the first African Women's Decade Report, and also activities marking the celebration of the Pan-African Women's Month, running from the 1st to the 31st of the month of July 2022. Madame Sylvie Jacqueline, thanks for accepting our invitation on Talking Point.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and greetings to all the Equinoxe viewers.
You represented WILPF and the Cameroonian women, also those who look up to you with a lot of expectation at events marking the launch of the Women's International, that is marking the launch of the African Women's Decade Report from 2020, 2010 to 2022. It had to do with equality and the empowerment of women in Africa. Can we know more on that and the place and the level of this fight of gender equality on the African continent?
Yes, thank you so much. I was highly honored to take part in the launch of what we call the Pan-African Women's Month. Last Thursday, it was an occasion to celebrate 2 things. First, the 60th anniversary of PAWO, which is a Pan-African Women's Organization, and also to launch the report of the African Women Decade from 2010 to 2020. I want to say that you know that the 31st of July is in Africa celebrated as Pan-African Women's Day. And it is the day which was instituted to commemorate the fight of our founding mothers under the organization PAWO, Pan-African Women's Organization, who supported the struggle in the emancipation and liberation of the continent. They supported the effort of the head of state at that time to fight the colonial master. And over the years, this organization has been able to foster gender equality and women's empowerment over the continent. So it was a very high privilege for African Union to take the opportunity to call the whole month of July 2022 the African Women's Month, to celebrate these four mothers, to celebrate what their effort over the years to promote gender equality, but most importantly, to work with the head of state in the Independence Day to liberate the continent. So the occasion was also to launch the report of the first ever African Women Decade. You remember that in 28, the whole story started in 28, when the Minister of Gender and Women Affairs met in Lesotho to discuss the possibility of the head of state declaring 2020 African Women's Decade. The idea originated from the fact that at the level of UN, 4 decades have been established, each decade trying to look into the issues of women and see how effort could be accelerated. So the women's minister, the Minister of African Women Minister in charge of gender, in charge of women's affairs, decided, they met in Lesotho and requested that it was very important that the head of state at the level of the African Union also declared 10-year period also as African Women Decade. The idea being for consultation to be made in order for accelerated effort to be made on the continent to improve gender equality and promote the women's empowerment. So that's the whole story about the African Women's Decade. And it started in 2010 and ended in 2020. So the report has been prepared. There was first a midterm report in 2015, then an end of term report in 2020 that was being launched a week ago.
And just how is the institution of the Pan-African Women's Month going to facilitate or contribute to the fight of the women across the African continent in terms of gender equality and empowerment?
The first thing is that commemorating the women who started the struggle is extremely important. At this point in time, African Union is celebrating the Women Under Power, Pan-African Women's Organization. By doing that, it's a sign for other women to work harder to merit the same thing that these women are having. It's very important to commemorate what they have been able to do over the years. And it's also an occasion for other women throughout the continent to organize activity. The African Union has a series of activities throughout the month of June, culminating on the 31st, which is the Pan-African Women's Day. But the requirement is that in different countries within Africa, activities are organized to commemorate this Pan-African Women's Day. I want to also say that there is an activity already programmed for Namibia, which is the GMAC, Gender is My Agenda campaign. The GMAC is representation of civil society within the African continent. They are coming together to have their activities as part of this commemoration. So the call is for women throughout the Africa to really take time while celebrating their mothers who started the fight, but also trying to organize activity to assess the degree of implementation of the different commitments within their countries. This assessment is very important to see the achievements so far and what needs to be done to accelerate the effort for women's empowerment to be a reality.
And now with the talk of gender equality and a cross view of the African continent, looking on the political scene, you see Africa with more than 50 countries, say 52, without having female leaders. Does that make fighters, those involved in this struggle for gender equality on the African continent, feel discouraged politically that you are failing to achieve your goals?
Of course, we cannot be happy to see that, but that is why women are continuing to work hard to make sure that the participation pillar of 1325 resolution on women, peace and security becomes a reality. It's a pillar that calls for women to be on decision-making tables. So that is why in different countries in Africa, women are working hard to make this happen. Of course, it's very slow, but there are some progress, including in Cameroon. Before being at the level of head of state, in the past, even having women in position of minister was very difficult. The number was very low, so it's increasing. But we feel that we need more conducive environment. We need this to happen. We need men to really believe that it's a common fight, that women do deserve to be in this position, but women will not sit down and wait for men to bring them on the table. So that's why it's very important. So it is on one side a kind of disappointment, but we are not discouraged because things are improving, and then the movement of women over the African continent is growing in different countries, growing within Africa, and it is this movement which is going to give more courage to women to take this seat at different positions. So we are not totally discouraged because at least we are seeing how the women's movement is growing over the continent.
Now, how do you rate this growth that you're talking about, the people growing? Is the growth only in numbers, as in the number of women joining the fight for gender equality across the African continent, or are you talking about a growth in women occupying positions that they didn't occupy even before the initiation of ideas and the fight for equality amongst women on the African continent?
I'm talking quality and quantity. Quality and quantity. If I even take the case of the African Union, which declared this decade, there are efforts made in the level of African Union to have women in different positions. That's why we have so many women at the level of African women occupying positions in terms of directors, different programs within the African Union. So it's a good start. This needs to be followed by different countries. Also in different countries, there are efforts, including in Cameroon. I cannot say that in Cameroon there are no efforts. We have the number of senators, the number of parliament increased over the years in different countries. But we feel that you have to look higher, because if we take countries where the number of women in the parliament is higher, it's extremely important. So the issue is not only to have women in quantity, but also the quality, the position that these women have. So the struggle is to have women, yes, but to have women occupy real position, not have women to be decorating the hall, as we say. Because I know that in many countries, in some instances, women are just put there for putting sake. But it's very important, like in political position. I know that many political parties do make sure that they have one or two women just to make sure that, okay, we are making gender provision a reality. But it's about what is the role that these women play. So I take the opportunity to give a call to women to stop playing some bad game. If you have to be in a position, political party or an enterprise, make sure that you have a say. Make sure that you have a place at the table. Make sure that you are able to influence the decision. If not, there is no need. I'm saying so because I know that in some political parties, we call it social role, dancing, cooking, and so on. No, women should be able to have position of influence to push for the agenda, especially the women's agenda.
How do you react to extremists who think that the fight for gender equality makes women rather lazy and not work hard to merit positions or pushes away the very essential elements of merit and give women only the hope and the insistence on the fact that there should be equality. And so a woman needed to fill a space would just be handpicked from anywhere and fit in a place where maybe probably she is not been working hard enough to merit that position. I mean, talking about gender equality and the place of merit.
Yes, I want to say that you know that we live in a patriarchal society, and our role, all of us, is there to support the women. It's extremely important. I'm saying so because the gender roles, the stereotype, have made the women to feel that they are less human beings. And the children, the girl child grows in this environment, make it in such a way that at a certain position, she will feel shy to take a position. She will feel shy to take to have a say. I think that while encouraging women to work hard to merit the position, is the responsibility of the whole society to know that the environment has made the women and even the men consider the women as a less human being. Therefore, we need to work, all of us together, to change the mindset. Women need to be supported. Today, I was talking in another media, and then they were saying that some women like to be battered. So, yeah, maybe, but it's what they saw when they grew up. They were told that being battered is part of womanhood. So I want to say that merit is okay, but we all have the responsibility to support women, because you know that we live in a patriarchal society and women are kind of disadvantaged by the social construction around the role of women and men.
Yes, Sylvie Jacqueline Domo, the last question is, how do you rate this same fight in Cameroon specifically, both quantitatively and qualitatively, gender equality and fight for women empowerment?
If I want to take the case, the situation of Cameroon, about the legal provision, I will be clapping all the time. Okay, we are there. Thank you so much. We are there. But it's not only about having all the legal provisions. It's also about implementing these policies. The problem of Cameroon most of the time is about making sure the policies, the provisions are implemented. So that is where we have a gap. So I would say that in Cameroon, we have done so well in trying to have a legal instrument to promote women's empowerment and gender equality. But it's very important now to put high emphasis to make sure that these provisions are really implemented, are truly implemented. I'm very sure that if they are implemented, even 50% is going to go a long way to solve this issue of women's empowerment and gender equality.
Thank you very much, Sylvie Jacqueline Domo of WIF, that is Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. We thank you for accepting to be guest on Talking Points on Equinoxe. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying with Equinoxe Television. That was all as far as the 6 p.m. newscast is concerned. Coming up, you shall be having Equinoxe Soir from the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé. A full newscast in the French language will be coming up at 8 p.m.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
Lundi sur Equinoxe Télévision.
C'est la préparation des Lions qui a commencé pour le Qatar. C'est la préparation des Lions qui a commencé pour les éliminatoires de la CAN 2023 en Côte d'Ivoire. Et donc, le sélectionneur a besoin de faire une revue de troupes.
C'est ce que nous attendons de notre foot et de notre public, qu'il y ait un public qui soit présent là dans nos stades et que ces joueurs puissent